There are stories that inspire us.
United States Army Major Scott Smiley was born to serve. Smiley noticed a suspicious vehicle off to the right. There was a massive explosion, and Scotty Smiley's world went black. Scotty would eventually return to active duty, the first blind officer in United States Army history.
I just felt it was my duty to still serve.
There are stories that unite us.
And among the pilots on duty that day was 26-year-old Lieutenant Heather Penny. Flight 93 could be only minutes away from Washington, and it would most likely end up being a suicide mission. The lives of Heather Penny and Mark Sassville would be spared thanks to another band of heroes, the passengers of Flight 93.
What I was willing to do is nothing special. It's nothing unique.
Stories that bring out the best in all of us.
Vincent Okamoto's heroic story began in the Poston, Arizona internment camp where American citizens of Japanese descent were being held during World War II. He would go on to become the most highly decorated Japanese American to survive the war in Vietnam.
They had to show that they were loyal Americans and that they were prepared to sacrifice to prove it, and they did.
Everyday men and women in extraordinary situations.
Among the survivors at topside was a 22-year-old sergeant, Ryan Pitts. His solitary stand bought U.S. forces precious time in reinforcing the post and calling in air support.
It all comes down to love. Love for the men to our left and our right.
Americans who become heroes.
Charles McGee. His 3-war total of 409 combat missions is the Air Force record that still survives today. He would survive to be one of the last remaining great pilots of the Tuskegee Airmen.
At the time, we were just Americans glad to be able to take part in what was taking place.
Americans who become legends.
Aldrin joined Armstrong on the surface of the moon, an impossible mission made possible through the ingenuity of the same spirit that had been ingrained in Americans from generation to generation.
I can't believe how lucky I have been in my life.
It is in our darkest moments that heroes rise. Amid the devastation of Pearl Harbor and defeat after defeat, a band of pilots took to the skies in an impossible mission to change the momentum of the war.
And the Doolittle Tokyo Raiders would go down in history among the most legendary veterans of the Second World War.
We were given a chance to back out. Nobody did. And I know that every generation since would have done the same thing.
Join us as we share the story of American valor from World War II to the present day, as we meet the heroes among us.